The Auburn Tigers are dancing to the Final Four.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Joining me as he does every single Monday, it is the Lindsay Crosby. You can find his stuff over at thebarnauburn.com and elsewhere. Lindsay, the Auburn Tigers, they're still dancing. They have danced into the Final Four after a dramatic 70-64 win over the Michigan State Spartans. And we'll talk about individual performances and then a specific moment that blew me away. But this is a program-changing win, in my opinion, because up until yesterday, what happened in 2019, I think, was labeled as a fluke, or you just got hot at the right time, because since then, you haven't been able to survive the first weekend in the NCAA tournament. I think now having a head coach, your active head coach, has been to 2 Final Fours with the program he's currently with in a span of 6 years, 5 tournaments, because the COVID year didn't, why should we even count that? I don't know.
Yeah.
But there's not many programs in college basketball that can wave this flag that Auburn is now able to have.
I think the biggest thing for me is you can go back in front of Alabama, right? Because the argument, to your point, it was, you did it one time, right? And it kind of felt like a fluke, or somebody could make the argument it was a fluke. You don't accidentally luck into 2 Final Fours across 5 tournaments, 19.
5 tournaments, 6 years.
Yeah, 5 tournaments, 6 years. Yeah, because of 2020. Yeah, so it's at the point now where you can argue it can't be a fluke, or else you fluked into it twice. And it's obvious, given the dominance Auburn had all season, it's impossible to argue that this was a fluke, given the fact that they are the number 1 overall seed and they've been the best team in the country for just about the entire season in the rankings.
Yeah, and they've had the best resume for the entire season because they played Houston for their second game and they went to Maui, not too long after that. And ever since then, they've just been racking up impressive win, competitive win after impressive and competitive win. And what they've done in the tournament, I think, is impressive in a different way. Not that, Creighton or Alabama State or Michigan State are these elite teams. I mean, I said Michigan State was the worst 2 seed in the draw. And I think over the course of the weekend, that might have proved that. I don't know. Doesn't matter. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of these games flowed in different ways. And I think when you talk about the best team at something, obviously we're talking about college basketball, but I think if you say this for college football or college baseball, the best team can win no matter what the flow of the game is. And Auburn proved that yet again this weekend, because they were similar to some extent, but I just think the way Michigan State and Michigan play are different. But obviously the way Creighton plays is extremely different. The way Alabama State plays is different. So you talk about the best college football team. Well, they can beat you 7-3, or they can beat you 42-35. Or the best baseball teams, they can win 1-0 in a pitcher's duel, or if it's fireworks, they'll beat you 7-9 with a 6-run frenzy in the 6th or something. That's what Auburn can do. And I'm not saying Florida can't do that. I'm not saying Duke and Houston can't do that either. I'm just saying, you said, you agreed with me. This isn't luck. Auburn deserves to be a Final Four team because they have been the best team in college basketball for the vast majority of the season.
Yeah, and I know we're going to get into it. I have questions about how Bruce is supposed to navigate the Final Four weekend in San Antonio while he's also fulfilling his duties as governor of Michigan. But this feels like the team that, for you to beat this team, you either have to have the games of your program's life, or Auburn has to beat themselves. First half against Michigan versus second half of Michigan, it felt like 2 different teams.
Yeah.
Right. the first half against Michigan State versus that time period when Johni Broome was not in the game in the second half, it felt kind of like different teams.
Yeah, I felt like they were holding on at that point. Right?
Like they were just trying to survive, right? And then when Johni Broome came in, it was just, we'll get to that.
We'll talk about that in a second for sure.
Yeah, but this, more so than any other team that I can kind of remember, this feels like you can't beat us if we don't let you beat us, right? Like for you to get a victory over us, there's a part we have to play because we have to have a disappointing day. We have to do things wrong. We have to get our own way, because when this team is locked in, which is not all the time, but when this team is focused, healthy, locked in, they can beat anybody. I mean,
I think that caveat is done. I don't think we shouldn't be able to that shouldn't matter anymore. If you're not locked in now, what are you doing?
You're never going to be.
I think what we saw against Creighton for the entire game from an effort standpoint, not an execution standpoint, but from an effort standpoint, this team felt back. And then obviously the second half against Michigan and the first half against Michigan State, it felt like January and February Auburn. Yeah. Not only from an effort standpoint, but an execution standpoint. And I think we saw a full game's worth of effort with this team. Like it never felt like they took a possession off. It did feel like that. It did feel like that for a few against Michigan and several against Alabama State.
Yeah, and I think in retrospect, how much of that is just execution, as in the other team did something different that we weren't expecting, and so it threw us off until we figured out how to adjust, versus, to your point, in the tournament, the effort's been there. They learned from some of those losses in season, the very few. They learned from the Yale upset last year. Like the effort has to be there. The effort's been there the entire time. It's the execution. And I do think some of that, especially when you think about like the first half against Michigan. Okay, Michigan did some stuff that they weren't expecting. Michigan had a different kind of, not game plan, but a different physical threat than Auburn's faced in a while. Like it would make sense. I mean,
not many teams have 2 7-footers that they use that way. It's going to present different challenges for sure.
Yeah, but to your point, the effort's always been there. And as long as Auburn can execute enough, this is a national championship caliber team. Like you can't get to the Final Four without being that, but this is the prohibitive favorite to win the national title when they're locked in and executing. And I feel like they're going to be locked in and executing in San Antonio. Yeah, provided they don't have too many churros.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay, so there was a moment in the second half that I think we just need to pause and just let simmer for a second. That's coming up right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel's America's #1 sportsbook. Lindsay, as we record this Sunday evening, the line is Florida by 2.5. So if you're Auburn and if you're an Auburn fan, you're thinking, hey, Auburn's winning this game. They're not going to lose to the same team twice in the same season. If you feel confident about your Tigers, either covering or winning outright, honestly, if you're going to bet on Auburn, I wouldn't bet on the +2.5. I would bet money line, but that's just me. That's just me. I just don't see a 1-point game happening. We'll see, though. Hey, right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 of extra money to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories. And Lindsay will tell you baseball's back as well. You can bet on that over at FanDuel as well. Visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Lindsay, there was a moment in the second half when Johni Broome missed that extended period of time. Mm-hmm. And everybody's wondering, like, how bad is this for Johni Broome?
Right.
The broadcast caught him looking at his teammates and his staff saying, I'm done. And he kept shaking his head. No, didn't look good.
Elbow. Yeah.
Broadcast kept saying leg. So I don't know what's up with that. Okay. I don't know if they were told that or what, but he's clearly grabbing his elbow. So I don't know. Lindsay, when he came back, the camera angle of him coming back down the tunnel And then you hear the Auburn contingency, which was most of Atlanta, erupt. And then it was a stoppage in play. So he's able to check in after the free throw. He goes in, gets a block. And then he goes in and makes the three with one arm. That moment to me will stick with me for a very long time. I mean, I'm trying to think of moments in Auburn sports history that made me feel what I felt in that moment. And obviously there's been great ones, kick six, prayer and Jordan Hare and all that stuff. But goodness gracious, that one's up there. That one's up there.
Yeah, I made the joke before we started recording, but it reminds me of the that iconic television moment, where the guy's like, call the ambulance, but not for me. Like Johni comes back and he's just dagger three. I mean, it's like you said, one arm. At the time of recording, there's no word that he's going to miss the Final Four. I feel like you'd have to chop his arm off for him to not be out there.
I mean, they put him back in. Yeah,
I mean, there's no way they put him back in if he's not okay. So, yeah, I mean, he's going to be fine. But it was it felt, I don't want to say kind of like in the movies where the cavalry comes over the hill, crests over the hill and kind of thing. But it was that almost manufactured moment of
when Gondor arrives in the Battle of Helm's Deep.
I'm thinking like the Undertaker sits up off the mat after taking like the second or third pedigree or a chair shot. And you're like, this thing is over. The Undertaker just sits up and bam, we're back at it. Like that's what Johni Broome did in this game.
I think the kids call it aura. They talk about aura. I think that's what they're talking about.
Okay.
And just like what the guy did. I mean, he was exceptional today. 25 points, 10 of 13 from the floor, made both threes that he took. And as a guy who hates it when Johni Broome shoots threes, I'm glad he went 2 for 2 yesterday because goodness gracious, they were crucial.
Not to kind of be that guy, but on the show on Friday, me and Daryl talked about like, you got to get Johni out there. Johni's got to shoot a couple. Again, just to kind of reestablish that threat because it does a little bit more to open up the offense when you legitimately have to worry about him out there. And there you go.
Yeah, I definitely think this. I think the second one, I think he knew he couldn't bang down low in the current situation.
Yeah.
Or maybe he was concerned about it or something. So they backed off of him. They gave him the shot and he took advantage of it. But no question about it.
First half. 17 points, 11 rebounds. Incredible. I mean, nobody else in Auburn team had more than 7. Miles Kelly had 7. Denver Jones was scoreless in the first half. Chad Baker-Mazar was scoreless in the first half. Chris Moore only got 4 minutes, but he was scoreless in the first half. Todd Pettiford only had 5 points. Like, Johni Broome was the offense.
The first half was a struggle. The first half was an absolute battle.
If I'm doing math, the whole rest of the team had 16 points to Johni Broome's 17 points in the first half.
That math checks out, I believe.
Defensive player of the year. I'm sorry. Player of the year material right there.
Yeah. I mean, I think he deserves it. I don't think he'll get it, but I think he certainly deserves it. Mm-hmm. But you kind of kept waiting for somebody else to get hot and they just didn't. Did it. I mean, nobody else scored more than 10. Tahad scored 10, but nobody else was in double digits. And like, you kept waiting for Denver to get hot. He didn't make a 3. You kept waiting for Chad Baker-Mazar. I mean, he was certainly doing everything he could from a shot selection standpoint to get himself involved in the game, and they just wouldn't fall. The 2 threes he made were great, but if you're shooting 8, you'd like to be a little bit more efficient than that. I think Dylan did enough, like from a presence standpoint, an impact standpoint, but not from a production standpoint. But that's not really why he's there. That's not his role. And then, Chaney was okay. His 8 points, especially with Johni out, he definitely served a role from an impact standpoint. But you just kept waiting for one of these guards to get hot, and like I thought it was going to be Miles, especially with how much he was shooting early, and it just never really came.
Yeah, this was one of those games that obviously you don't win without Johni Broome, but this is one of those games that the fact that your offense can do like that, your guard play can look like that, and you still won by 6.
Yeah.
Tells you that, okay, this is a team, to your point from the first segment, that can do anything. They can win any way they need to win whatever they have to do. If you're going to have Broom get down low and bang around, you're going to have everybody space out, shoot some threes. If you're just going to get nickel and dimed by everybody on the roster with one dude carrying the weight and Johni Broome, you're going to do that. Like, Miles Kelly had 1 point after halftime. Auburn only had 3 free throws in the first half.
So apparently, Michigan went the first 16 minutes with only fouling once. I mean, I guess hats off to Michigan State. Like, goodness gracious. How in the world does that happen? Especially with how Auburn was playing offensively. And you're telling me as much as they went to the rim, the Michigan State only fouled once? Tahad Pettiford's getting like jabbed in the rib and he's attacking the basket and they're like not calling it. It's crazy.
That's not a foul when you're the number one team in the country. You just have to deal with that.
Clearly. It was whatever. Second half, I think, was more even, but goodness gracious. I almost feel like the refs felt bad because Auburn went on that incredible like 17-0 run. But whatever. Auburn takes down Michigan State. So what do we need to see from Auburn to take down the Florida Gators? And I've got a weird, I don't know if it's a question, but I've been wrestling with this all week because I thought this was a possibility. I think this was the most likely option as a collision course between Auburn and Florida. I want to ask you, is this a valid way of thinking or not? That's next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. The Auburn Tigers are heading to the Final Four. Can't stress that enough. They'll take on the Florida Gators. So obviously, Florida took down Auburn earlier this year in Neville Arena. It was a 9-point win for Florida. It's kind of a shock. And that's really what kind of started Florida's like incredible ascension. They were red hot from that moment to now. But my question is, does what happened in that game matter at all, one way or the other? Because the kind of prompt that I've been giving myself over the course of the week, and I can't really complete it in my brain where I feel good about it one way or the other, is it's really hard to beat any of these 1 seeds that's left. Yeah. It's really tough. What's tougher, though, is to beat one of them twice. And is it okay to feel more confident about this game because Auburn lost to Florida earlier this year, and it's tough to beat Auburn once? It's very tough to beat them twice. But then, like, if Auburn plays Houston in the championship, like, well, that logic wouldn't be good. I don't think they will. I think they'll play Duke, which maybe that benefits Auburn again. It's hard to beat Auburn twice. So I don't know if that's valid or not, but I have been thinking about that a lot in my brain.
I would argue Florida's game plan wasn't working that well in the second half of that game. Like, we forget they were 7 of 13 from 3 in the first half of that win in Neville Arena. They were, they shot 57% from the floor in general, but 53% from behind the arc. Second half, they were 6 of 20 from 3, and they shot 41% from the floor. Like, now they hit all of their free throws. They were like 15 to 18 on free throws. But I would argue that Auburn figured out enough to slow down their offense, but Auburn's offense just couldn't get it to happen in the second half either, and that's why they lost. Right. If this game was in the SEC tournament, or this game was first or second round of the NCAA tournament, I would say that game that you played earlier in the year probably matters a little bit. But in the Final Four, to your point, it's going to be hard no matter who you play.
Correct.
And
especially in the year where it's all 1 seeds.
Yeah. Like it is chalk. It is all 1 seeds. Enough time has passed from that game to now where functionally this is not really the same team that took the floor back then, right? Things are different.
So that was February 8th.
Yeah.
They will play on April 5th.
So almost 2 full months.
Almost 2 full months, Lindsay. It's a long time. It's a long time. And if Auburn were to play Duke or Houston, I mean, they've played, but I mean, that was like a pretty much different season.
Auburn played 14 games between the Florida game and the next Florida game, right? Over close to 2 months. They are a different basketball team now. Like, Tahad Pettiford wasn't bad in that game, right? 14 points, He didn't really do a whole lot outside of I think he had 2 rebounds, 3 assists and things like that. But like, he's a different player now than he was in early February.
Yeah.
Like, he has grown as a player. He's gotten more comfortable. He's doing different things. Dylan Cardwell scored 5 points in that game, but he had like 12 rebounds. I mean, just so many guys are doing different things now than they were doing then and are more comfortable with what Auburn's trying to do. And because you had so much time without Chad Baker-Mazara, so many guys learned to step up and take control when they need to. And I'm sorry, Johni Broome. Sorry. That's
without Johni. Sure.
Yeah. That guys have learned to step up when they
I couldn't tell at first if you were taking a dig about like Chad Baker-Mazara getting ejected a lot or if
that would have been funnier, but no, I just screwed up. That's all.
I wanted to make sure if you were taking,
Thanks for calling attention to that.
I caught it. Yeah,
yes.
Sure. But yeah, it's been so long. And so to me, like, you look at Kentucky and Tennessee. Kentucky beat Tennessee twice in the regular season, and then they play this weekend in the game that truly matters, and the better team won.
Mm-hmm.
The better team won. You know, Kentucky can say, hey, yeah, well, we're still 2-1 against you on the season. Tennessee says, who cares?
You can say that from your couch. We'll say that from San Antonio.
Right. And, you know, so Tennessee made it to the Elite Eight. Kentucky didn't. So to me, it's just, we're going to learn. We get to learn. Like, we've had this debate for so long of who's better, Auburn or Florida, who should have been the number 1 team, who should have been the number 1 seed. We will know. We will know Saturday in San Antonio, where there will be no gray area. It'll be very clear, black and white, who the better team is between Auburn and Florida. And the answer to it will get to play for a national championship. How fun is that?
Isn't it kind of cool that you've played every team
in the Final Four?
Yes.
I wonder how often that's happened. I haven't seen a tweet or anything about that.
Yeah, I would say I can't imagine that's happened that often, that one of the teams in the Final Four has played every other team in the Final Four. A small part of me wishes that, like, I understand it's going to be like the SEC is going to get a team there no matter what, right? But part of me kind of wishes that rematch wasn't going to happen until the very end. Like if you saw them again, it was going to be for a championship, because the storyline of, hey, they beat you last time. If you beat them, if you can win the rematch, you're a champion. And instead, it's if you can win the rematch, you play for a championship. People forget the Miracle on Ice game wasn't for the gold medal.
That's true.
It was a semifinal. Like, and I
rewatched that movie a few years ago, and I was like, huh.
Yeah, it wasn't for the gold medal. It was just a semifinal. Like, they had to go on and keep winning to win the gold medal, but you never think about that. Same thing here. Like, it's going to be whoever wins this game is going to win the national championship, I feel like.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, Duke just seems on a different level than other people right now.
No,
I think Duke's the best of the 4 teams right now.
I'm talking trash. I don't care.
That's fine. That's fine. Obviously incredible stuff. So we'll keep you posted on what we hear about Johni and how we think that'll impact that. We'll have Final Four content all throughout the week. Yeah. Because Auburn's go to their second Final Four in the last 6 years. So fun. Incredible stuff. Lindsay, how can people check out everything you've got going on? Fun new announcement from Lindsay. Go ahead. Do it.
Okay, cool.
Do it right now.
I'm on social media at Crosby Baseball. You can all the Barn baseball stuff, the Barn Auburn YouTube channel. I host the Braves Today podcast, but also starting some new stuff with Locked On, the post-game host for the Atlanta Braves on Locked On Sports Atlanta, going live after every Atlanta Braves game. We're going to do that. And Locked On's launching a new national MLB show called Locked On MLB Game Night. I'm one of the hosts of that. We'll be doing 7 days a week. I won't be on every single show, thankfully, recapping all of the games from that day. So just taking the baseball that I do and adding even more baseball to it. It's very exciting.
You are baseball's Lindsay Crosby. Incredible stuff.
Baseball.
We won't talk again until after the Final Four game is played, Lindsay. We won't talk on camera. Who wins, Auburn or Florida?
Auburn.
Okay.
Auburn wins. Auburn wins by 5.
Let's go.
Auburn wins by 5.
Who do you predict so in this scenario, who do they play in the national championship?
They play Duke.
Okay.
Auburn wins that too.
Let's go. Let's do it. Lindsay calling his shot. Auburn Natties, baby. Let's go.
We're gonna be rolling the hell out of Tumors a couple times the next week or so.
I hope we put Toomer's corner through it. I hope we go put that corner through it, baby.
Like it's Christmas, baby.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. Hey, please like the video. Please subscribe. And if you're tuning in on audio, please leave us a review and subscribe there. It helps the channel out a ton. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We'll see you next time. Just another quick reminder. Auburn is back in the Final Four. Till then, this has been Locked On Auburn.